Hi and welcome to Minivan Camper Building with Leslie. How you doing? Today I'm going to show you how I made this portable, easy breezy, cheapo camping air conditioner for the camper van. This was built out of mainly desperation. I went and I picked up a couple of materials from Walmart on the way to our camping spot. I'll show you everything I did to put this together. Oh, I'm so excited. Can't wait. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Leslie. I built out our minivan here into a camper, and I'll show you how to do it too if you're so inclined. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe while you're here? I try to answer every single question I possibly can. So whatever's on your mind, building your camper van, shoot me a question. I'll get back to you. So for today, portable air conditioner. Let's go. This is everything I picked up at the store on the way to the campground. This group of materials is not going to create the most efficient, highest cooling, high-tech, do-it-yourself air conditioner, but this is the best choice for one quick trip to Walmart, and it definitely improved the temperature to get us through the night. Let's take a closer look at those materials. The first is the foam cooler. The reason I used one of these cheapo foam coolers is because the only tools I have to make this is what I'm carrying in the van. The next thing I picked up is a 5-foot dryer duct, but any kind of tubing would have been fine. This is the best thing I found, so this is what I went with. Another choice out of pure desperation was this tiny little fan. I would have picked up something more powerful if they had had one in a small size, but they didn't, so I went with this. This is a 10-pack of these aluminum liners that you put on your stove. I didn't need 10, I only needed one, but they were super cheap, and this is the smallest package I could find. I also picked up this rectangular cake pan, and the last material I picked up was these small storage bins. They came in a 2-pack. I only needed one, but again, cheap enough that I got the 2-pack. The only tools I used for this project were tools that I had in the van: duct tape, a box cutter, and a pen. Okay, let me show you what I'm thinking here. Instead of just blowing air over the top of some ice, I thought it might be more effective if I could somehow force air underneath the ice and then blow the air through the ice to chill it and force that air out of the top of the cooler. So let's see how that worked. The first thing I did was I took that aluminum cake pan. That's what's going to hold the ice up towards the top of the cooler. I poked a bunch of perforations in it using my box cutter, so any water that melts off the ice can just drip down. Then I took one of those small gray storage bins, turned it upside down, and set it in the bottom of the foam cooler so that can support the aluminum cake pan. And then I set my cake pan on top of the gray bin. Next, we need to figure out where we're going to cut some holes in the lid. I figured out the size of those holes by taking that dryer duct and placing it on top of the lid and tracing around it with the pen. I did that twice, one for each hole. Once I had those marked, I took my box cutter and started to cut out the holes. I really wanted to make sure I didn't mess this up. The nearest Walmart was about an hour away from here, so I didn't want to have to go and buy another foam cooler. So I started by cutting the holes smaller than I needed to, and I figured I could slowly work out to get to the right size. You can always cut a hole bigger, but you can't cut it smaller. After my 2 holes were cut to just the right size, I made them nice and neat and rimmed duct tape around the edge. This also helped to strengthen the foam so the dryer duct would stay in there better. Now here I wanted to make room for one of the ducts to force that air down to the bottom of the cooler, like you saw on the diagram. So I took one edge of the cake pan and just pulled it back a little bit to give me some space. Next, I took one end of that dryer duct and I flattened it as much as I could so it would fit in there nicely right between the cake pan and the foam cooler. Then I used the box cutter to cut the dryer duct into two parts, about 1/3 and 2/3. Then I took the smaller length, the 1/3 length of the dryer duct, and put that on top of the lid to help guide the air out. The longer length, the one with the flattened end, that's the one that goes inside the cooler, guiding air down and underneath the ice. Once you have those two lengths of the dryer duct installed in the lid, this is what they look like. Next up is that aluminum stove liner. They're thin and flexible, you just need one. This is going to hold your fan in place and guide the air down into the dryer duct. The hole in the stove liner is about the same size as the dryer duct. I just needed to make a few little cuts with my box cutter in the stove liner to open up that hole a little bit and slip it over the dryer duct. Once that was on there, I got my little fan, faced it down onto the lid on top of the stove liner. Then I folded up the edges of the stove liner and then slowly and carefully, because this stuff can be sharp on the edges, I wrapped it around the fan, sort of like I was wrapping up leftovers with aluminum foil. This is what the air conditioner looks like from the top once everything's been assembled. And this is what it looks like on the inside. I took the flattened end of the dryer duct and set that next to the cake pan where I pulled it back, trying to bring that air from outside underneath where I'm going to put the ice. Then I took a 10-pound bag of ice. It fit just perfectly, and I poured the ice onto the tray. Once this thing is fired up and going, oh, it feels so good to feel that cold air coming out. However, it's not a strong blast of cold air, so you want to find a space where you can be close to this thing. It's not going to blast freezing air through the entire van. It's just going to give a gentle stream of cool, icy air, but you'll want to place it somewhere close to you. All in all, this air conditioner worked for what I needed it to do. Mainly, it was meant to get us through the early part of the evening when the heat is still in the air, so it's very hard to get to sleep. On the pro side, this air conditioner is very easy to build. Doesn't take more than just a couple of simple tools. It's also a very fast project. In under an hour, this thing can be up and running. It certainly doesn't cost very much. This whole contraption cost about $20. But it is the right size to fit in the van. And on the pro side, if you were able to get a fan that works on a battery, then it would be really ideal. On the con side, this design is not very powerful, and that's mainly because of the fan. It also tends to leak on the bottom just because it's not a very high quality cooler. It has a limited capacity for ice, and we don't have any other place to store extra ice. So what you can pack in there is what you get. And the last con, just because of the fan that I happened to purchase, it does need power. So it means that you have to have some kind of power source in order to use it. But like I mentioned, that can be avoided if you're able to get a fan that operates on a battery. I hope you enjoyed this run through of my homemade portable camper van air conditioner. I sincerely hope you never need one, but if you do, you can make this for very cheap and very quickly. It's always good hanging out with you. I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.